So you are back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm not even sure I can still call myself a comedian. You know, sometimes in stand-up, there's times when you can bomb so hard that it fundamentally changes you as a human being. Like tonight, the David Boyle that walked onto stage was not the same David Boyle that walked off the stage. They were two different people. I just had one of the biggest bombs in the history of fucking bombings. It was incredible to float outside my body and watch the horrific events take place. It couldn't have been more of a disaster if I fucking tried. Let me try and set the scene for this fucking bomb. So I'm doing a show, a solo show, and I've made it a theme show. It's called Desi Aussie. It's basically about living in India, being married to an Indian. It's a deep psychological analysis of the Indian psyche. That was the idea behind it anyway. Didn't end up quite like that, but yeah. So I targeted Indians. I marketed it towards Indians, and Indians were the only people this show was meant for. The thought behind that was there's 1.3 billion Indians. How many Australians are there? There's like fucking 20 Australians. So I'm like, that market's way fucking bigger. And I know a lot about Indians, and I've done gigs through India, and I've killed through India. Know the Indian psyche. Well done. What I didn't expect were whiteys to turn up. Every single thing that could go wrong in a gig fucking went wrong. Personally, I was overconfident. I was cocky. I was underprepared. I had no structure to the set. The jokes weren't in line. The punches weren't big enough. The venue I was doing it in was not a comedy venue. So this place is a vaudeville theatre. The only fucking vaudeville theatre in Melbourne and possibly the fucking world. And the way they structure shows is they have a vaudeville show at the start of the night, which is just a bunch of useless cunts doing useless shit. Like one or two open mic stand-up comedians in between a juggler that drops shit and a Russian guy that balances a fan on his head and it always falls off every single time. He can't fucking balance it. And then it's my show and then a show afterwards. So there's 3 shows in the night and you can buy a ticket and you can see all 3 of those shows. So what happened was everyone that went to the first show stayed on for the second show, which was my show, which was not targeted to a fucking vaudeville fucking audience of old whiteys. They weren't even there for stand-up. They were there for fucking vaudeville. I don't even know what fucking vaudeville is, but it's not what I'm fucking delivering. So I had a little bit of my crowd. A couple of Indians rock up. I get on stage and I'm like, holy fuck. It never even occurred to me that non-Indians would be at this show. There's nothing in this show for non-Indians. I'm like, I'm in big fucking trouble here. Because there's like 2 Indians in the crowd. There's one up the front, but he's not even an Indian. He was an Australian Indian. So I start off the show and I asked them who's here for my show. And there was I think there was like 4 people there for my show. So they knew what they were in for. And there was 25 people that weren't. And I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be an interesting fucking night. I get into the material. It's bombing from the start. And I'm like, fuck. It's getting some laughs from the Indian couple that are right at the back of the theatre. And they're the only ones laughing. So I'm speaking to them. They're the only ones understanding the fucking show. Now we're 2 minutes in. I'm only speaking to those 2. I'm ignoring the rest of the crowd. And I'm thinking, all right, if I can hit these 2, and if I can get them laughing, then hopefully the crowd the other sections of the crowd will start jumping on board as well. The thing is, they were quiet laughers, and they weren't laughing enough for it to be contagious. The first 10 minutes, I'm just speaking to the Indians. To my right, 2 girls, young girls, they just start talking to each other. I address it. I'm like, just keep talking because you're not going to understand any of this. I can deal with that. If you need to talk, just talk. To my left, there's 10 old people, confused old people. They're like, what the fuck is this? What's he talking about? Why is he being racist towards Indians? The Indians are laughing a little bit, so I stick with the Indians and ignore the rest of the crowd for another 5 minutes. Then the crowd get restless. Then I'm like, oh fuck. I can't just speak to 2 people in the crowd of, let's say it's about 30 people. I'm going to have to go back. Then I start going to the crowd. They're not interested at all. Like, what do you do for work? Silence. Where are you from? Silence. By this stage, I'm fucking sweating. I'm full-blown sweating, and I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to have to go into my normal stand-up to get the crowd back on board. So I start doing my normal stand-up, and then I realize they're all old cunts in here, and my stand-up is basically about doing drugs, fucking, and being racist. I'm like, maybe I'll get them with some of the racist shit. So I start doing the racist shit. Indians laughing at the back. Old cunts. Silence. Then I look down. Everyone shaking their head. And then the full meltdown starts. I'm like, I don't think I've got anything I can tell you cunts. I don't think I've got anything in my arsenal that is even going to make you interested in what I'm fucking saying. I was thinking maybe honesty would get them there. Nothing. Then I start panicking. I start rambling. Miss all my jokes. There's no structure at all to anything I'm saying anymore. I'm just plucking shit out of nowhere. I'm doing my stand-up that I know well and works everywhere. And I'm not even doing the punchlines. I'm just doing the premises. To heads shaking, yawns, 2 girls talking, people texting. Then I sit down on the stool. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to tell you a bit about myself. And I couldn't even remember anything about myself. I just kept on repeating like, so yeah, my wife's from India. That's pretty cool. Like, it's cool. She does things, which is cool. Cool, yeah. Things are cool. Then I was like, how long do you reckon I've done so far? Because to me, it's felt like 2.5 hours. I'm pretty sure it's about 14 minutes. And then someone I think someone yelled out, yeah, it's felt like 2 hours to us too. Kills. Absolutely murders that joke. Then I decide to go to my phone and check how long I've done. And I'd done 20 minutes. And I'm like, only 30 minutes left of this show. And every single person in the crowd groans. In the end, I did 35 minutes of premises, stuttery, no idea what I'm talking about. Every amateur mistake a comedian can make, I made tonight. Every lesson I've learned in about 10 years of stand-up, I forgot everything, and I died a horrible death, and now I don't even know who I am. I don't even know who I am anymore. Am I an Australian or am I an old Chinese lady? I have no fucking idea. Am I a Russian bot? I think a Russian bot would have got more laughs than I did today. All I did at the end was like, well, I'm fucking out of here. I'm going to go. And then they start clapping. They start cheering in unison. And I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm like, you boo me off stage. You fucking boo me off stage. Then they're like, yeah, boo, boo, you suck. I'm like, I hope I never, ever see any of your fucking faces ever again. I recorded it too. If you want to know what hell on earth is, it's going to be me re-listening to that fucking set. And I'm going to do it as well. I'm going to listen to that fucking set, and it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt right to the fucking core. Oh, God. If that audio of that set ever made it to the public, I'm finished. I'm finished as a comedian. I'm finished as a human being. There is no amount of money anyone could pay me to release that audio. I need to rebuild, because this house got fucking burnt down today. It's even worse than I just described it. It's even worse than that. The staff who I know wouldn't even make eye contact with me at the end of the show, and I know them all by name. They just couldn't. They couldn't bring them. There's something so horrifying when someone bombs that bad that it made the old granny in the front row say to me mid-set, "You're drowning." And I'm like, thank you, old bitch. Anyway, so if you're enjoying this podcast, why don't you go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review it? That was bad. That was real fucking bad. Alright, see you later.